A pastoral is a poem dealing with rural life. Today, we will tell you a story through the use of a pastoral. Just remember, when you hear pastoral, think of pasture and a farm.
This letter has absolutely no coherence. It makes no sense.
It's 'cause your dog wrote it.
Oh. Well, coherence is a fundamental principle of composition, demanding that the parts of any piece of writing be so arranged and bear such relationship to one another that the meaning of the whole may be immediately clear and intelligible. A way I like to remember this is literature would not be coherent without coherence.
Chiasmus is the use of phrases which are syntactically parallel but with their elements reversed. Ask not what your farm can do for you, but what you can do for your farm. A mnemonic device for chiasmus is if the two words in a statement are reversed, creating an X, you have chiasmus.
The prairie dog's sadness was highlighted by the other prairie dog's happiness.
While all the other prairie dogs played together, this one sad prairie dog sat by herself, highlighting her grief.
When you think of emotional contrasts, imagine the feelings envy and confidence. Both are contrasting emotions and therefore emphasize the extreme of the other.
Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds. The final consonants in stressed syllables agree, but the vowels that precede them differ. I sent for the pig and went to find him. Sue! Consonant sounds a lot like consonants. So make sure the final consonants agree and the vowels that precede them differ, and you've got consonants.
Tenor is the total ideas and attitudes not only of the literary speaker but also of the author. An example of this is in the novel Lord of the Flies. The character Piggy and the author William Golding both do not agree with society's methods to gain power. A way to remember this term is to break it down into two names, the Ken and Thor, and then think of Ken as the literary speaker and Thor as the author, and both of their attitudes will be portrayed in the work.
An apostrophe is a direct address to an inanimate object or an absent person. A mnemonic device is that apostrophe is separated into the syllables apostrophe. So the ah is similar to someone crying out, ah! And the o is similar to the o that begins many of the statements that begin apostrophes. For example, when my father forced me to work on the farm all day by myself, I found myself crying out, "Oh, Father, why are you so cruel to me?"
An onomatopoeia is a word that sounds like what it means. The crickets chirping at night kept me awake.
Epistrophe, repetition of the same word or group of words at the end of successive clauses. For the prosperity of the farm, the glory of the farm, the love of the farm. The ending of the successive clauses all end with farm. This makes an example of epistrophe. Think of a farm when you think of epistrophe. The ending of the clauses and the ending of the days remain the same. Every night the sun sets and we feed the pigs.
Conceit is a fanciful notion or conception that is usually used through an analogy pointing out two striking parallels between two dissimilar objects. An example of this is this school is an animal farm. A way to remember this is think of the word by saying can see it, so I can see the point of the unusual comparison being made.
An I rhyme are two words that look alike, are spelled alike, but are pronounced differently. An example is, we had to provide the pigs on the farm with food, and we hope all the rain doesn't cause a flood. A mnemonic device is that Shelby and I look alike, but everything else about us is different, just like two words in I rhyme. Double trouble
goes western.
Yeehaw!
Parallel structure is when two or more elements are put in the same grammatical form. An example of this is the sentence, the pigs are sloppy, dirty, and stinky. A way to remember parallel structure is to think like parallel lines. If words are in the same grammatical form, they will not clash with each other as perpendicular lines do.
A rhetorical device is a common figure which departs from ordinary language mainly by arrangement of words to achieve special effects. An example of this is that my mom forced me to read and learn rhetorical figures despite my desire to simply work on the farm. She forces me to memorize rhetorical figures like apostrophes and alliteration for vocabulary tests. How rude. A mnemonic device is that each figure or literary device is like an individual person. Each figure serves a specific purpose, like the rhetorical figures. So Sammy's really good at bringing water up from the well on our farm. Ollie's really good at hanging out, eating, and doing what a cat does best, sleeping.
An allegory is a work that puts symbols into action, has a complete surface story, and also signifies series or events expressing religion or philosophy. A famous allegory is Lord of the Flies. In the book, the pig is a symbol of the devil, and every event and color is also symbolic of social customs and emotions. Remember, all events are symbolic of a larger message.
Eating this apple reminds me of the story of Adam and Eve, which is a parable. A parable is a short narrative which exemplifies religious truths and insights. A way I like to remember this is a pair of people are able to tell a story with a religious meaning.
Imagery is all images portrayed within a passage, entire work, or group of words. An example of imagery is the sentence of "the birds chirp while the sky is bright blue on a sunny day in spring." A way to remember imagery is to think of if an image comes into your mind, then imagery was used.
Slowing devices are used to make the reader pause to read a word or phrase more deliberately. An example is a long vowel sound, punctuation like the dash or exclamation point, a caesure, which is a pause, natural break, or a series of difficult to pronounce syllables. We have dogs. They are beautiful.
Hey, let's take my set of wheels for a ride on this farm road. That's a synecdoche. A synecdoche is a metaphor in which a small part stands for a large part. A way I like to remember this is a synecdoche is an okie dokie way to make a metaphor where a small part of something stands for a larger part.
Metaphysical conceit is a controlling image, real but previously unsuspected similarity that is enlightening. A mnemonic device for the metaphysical conceit is metaphysical is similar to a metaphor. Because metaphysical conceit is just two words, it's extended past a metaphor, just like a metaphysical conceit is an extended metaphor. Conceit is similar to contrast, which displays how metaphysical conceit compares two very unlikely images. An example for a metaphysical conceit is the male dog persuaded the female dog to love him by saying, "This flea has sucked me first, and now it sucks you. In this flea our blood mingles. He is our officiator, marrying us. Why not be together then?"
This bale of hay weighs a ton. That's a hyperbole. A hyperbole is an extravagant exaggeration of fact, used for serious or comic effect. A way I like to remember this is a hyperperson may exaggerate things.